Welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts College Football Podcast, your ticket to all things college football. Are you looking to get your college football fix? Looking to get the latest news on your favorite school's team? Join us as we talk college football from the national championship to college rivalries to bowl games to the Heisman Trophy to which conference is the best. We've got you covered for the Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC, and everything in between.
Oh, what is up? Welcome to the GSMC Football Podcast on a Friday today here. Coming off a Thursday that saw a bunch of NFL games, but this is the college football edition, so we'll leave Jesse to go over those NFL games with you in his podcast. You'll have another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast later this afternoon. This is the college football edition. And we're going to be going over some stuff regarding Jalen Hurts and his comments. I know it was a little bit, it was last week, kind of when he was not last week, earlier this week when he was making these comments. Nick Saban comes out and he doesn't take any stock in it. It's not really going to affect anything. But, I mean, it does, I kind of wanted to let everything kind of let lie before I kind of laid into it. And we'll do that in this segment. So, I mean, Hurts obviously had his comments about the quarterback competition. That he was asked about. I'm like, well, I've never said anything about it. I haven't really talked about it. I haven't just put my head down and playing the game, obviously. But then, of course, when coaches never really bothered to sit down with him. This is what he's saying in his little interview. But coaches never really came down to say anything about what was he called, quote unquote, the elephant in the room. Obviously, who's going to be leading this team. And he continued saying, no one came up to me the whole spring, coaches included. No one asked me how I felt. No one asked me what was on my mind. No one asked me how I felt about the things that were going on. No one asked me about what my future held. And this is a guy who we've had reports out saying that he was going to transfer if he wasn't given the job. Obviously, it's a little more difficult to transfer when the season's about 2 weeks away for these NFL teams, not for the NFL teams, for the college teams. It's about 2 or 3 weeks away, 20 days away from from their first game. It's good luck transferring then. I mean, they haven't made a decision yet. We're 20 days away. And we haven't made a decision on who is going to be the starter. I know we've talked about to ad nauseum here what Nick Saban has to say about it and what his comments are about this situation. And, going forward, he says that the team has to pick. They have to win the team to get this job. And I guess he will determine who wins the team. If the team he could see, I guess he could tell from the outside looking in, if who has gotten the most the confidence instilled in them by the team and the coaches around them as well. So, Hurts made an analogy. He said it's kind of like a stove. After the national championship game, the stove got turned on, the heat got turned up, and now it's like, okay, I put the pot on the stove, I put the food in the stove. On the stove. Now the food's cooking, and in the coming season, when it officially starts, the food will be done. That's kind of obviously an interesting analogy there, but it's August 10th. Their first game is going to be in Orlando at a neutral field against a Louisville team that everyone expects them to beat. Obviously, they're Alabama against a non-Power 5 school. Even though Louisville has had some success, but there's no more Lamar Jackson there. They've had to revamp that offense a little bit there with the new quarterback, obviously. But Alabama's got their own quarterback situation to worry about, as we know, and it is well documented. We've had people from both. I mean, experts from both all the different outlets trying to make their little predictions. ESPN first said that, oh, it's going to be Hurts probably, and then we have an expert coming out. Oh no, it's going to be Tua. Oh, and they've had people on ESPN, the college football show, say Tua won the job back when he won the national championship in January. I mean, there's people out there who think that the fact that he won that game right there, that earns him the job. How would you take the job away from the guy that won the game and give it back to the guy who you had to take out because you weren't going to win the game if he was still in there? So, I mean, yeah, the whole idea of the fact that, okay, one guy's older, the other guy's younger, this guy's had more experience, this guy's had less experience. Yes, it all goes into it. But who can actually play? I think that the experience kind of goes out the window when you see what Tua did against a very good Georgia defense and won you a national championship. Took a sack in overtime, didn't let it rattle him, threw a dime the next play, won the game on a walk-off, basically. Not basically, it was a walk-off. It was a walk-off touchdown win for the Alabama Crimson Tide, as we all saw it from that game in Atlanta. So, I mean, he, of course, continued. He had actually a lot of comments on this, and then, of course, Nick Saban has to come out, and he gets asked about what Jalen says, and he kind of just shrugs it off and doesn't really take much stock in it. Jalen did continue to say when he, of course, earlier before Jalen addressed the media back. This was actually, this was on the 4th, so earlier this week when Jalen was done talking. Before Jalen was talking to the media, actually, Saban was asked about it a bunch too. I mean, the thing is, it's crazy. They were 20 days away, and he's having it's almost having like press conferences twice a week or something like that. He's got his Coca-Cola bottle out there and his Dasani on top of his podium as usual. I wonder how much they pay for that, but it's probably just a number to throw it out there. Yeah, no, this is the whole point. I was talking about. He asked whether his. See, that's what I'm thinking. ESPN's asking the same. They're asking the same questions I'm asking. Can I get a press pass to go to Tuscaloosa, please, and talk to Nick Saban? Like, this is ridiculous. They asked him if the whole winning the team, quote unquote, winning the team thing had to do with any input on whether the team has input on the starter. Of course, I know, but if you read between the lines, I don't know for fact, but he means that the leader, who is going to be the best, who's going to show him that they have the most leadership on the scene. Obviously, I told you there's some negatives that can be drawn from that, where you're asking a team full of 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24-year-olds to make a decision on one of their peers. And basically, I mean, whether they're making a decision consciously or he's just going to be able to watch it on the field and see, okay, that guy's leading him more. The team is gravitating towards this guy naturally. What if that doesn't happen? You got to make it. You got 20 days, Nick. 20 days. I mean, are you really trying to confuse Bobby Petrino and not give him any leg up on a game plan or something like that? Really, for game 1 of the season? Because once that happens, it's all over. Your SEC schedule will matter. The only person you could be possibly trying to mix up is Bobby Petrino at Louisville. That's it. Because that's the only guy that doesn't know who's going to be starting against him come September 1st. Their second game probably is a cupcake. But when they get into SEC schedule, I think that the coaches are going to have an idea who the starter is because they played already 3 games. Or 2 games. Or 3 games, because they actually have the SEC has 4 non-conference games every year and 8 conference games versus everybody else has 9 and 3. Nick Saban actually is we've already talked about him being a supporter of that change, trying to get it more uniform across the board, where the SEC will have the 9 and 3 like everybody else. But no, going back to Jalen Hurts, I kind of feel for the kid. He's been in the dark. It's unfortunate that we have had reports come out earlier from, I think it was his uncle or somebody was involved with talks to try and talking to the media, telling the media that they were going to transfer Jalen or Jalen was going to transfer if he wasn't picked for the first for the starting spot. Obviously, that's going to be like I said, pretty difficult. I mean, you could transfer during the season, I guess, but then he wouldn't be a graduate transfer. He's not. He'd have to sit out a year, so it wouldn't really matter. He's only I think he's a redshirt junior. So yeah, he's not a graduate transfer quite yet, but he is going to be. The thing is, he could play this year. He's graduating in December of this year, so he could just sit on the bench or be the backup this year, and then transfer next year without having to sit out a year because he would be graduated already. So academically, right, and that's all you only need to do. That's the only point. The academics actually get involved in your eligibility, other than like grades, of course. But like even if he's a redshirt junior, which means actually no. So if he's a redshirt junior, that means he's going to be graduating basically just a semester early. Because he's a senior academically and he'll be just graduating. He graduated in 3.5 years, which is honestly, these kids graduating in 3.5 years. I mean, there are kids that aren't playing football. There are kids that are literally just doing school and can't graduate in 3.5 years because of whether it's getting classes or whatever. Obviously, football players athletes have priority, so they're always going to get their classes. But yeah, if you got to hand it to the kid, I mean, I'm not going to speculate onto what could have been an assisting way to help Jalen get through his schooling, but we're not going to go there. We already talked about UNC and all that kind of stuff, but it is. I mean, it's just interesting how these guys can play so much football and play football deep into the year. I mean, these guys are playing football. Jalen Hurts played football you play spring football, then you go fall practice to the beginning of August. Then you have season going all the way to January 3rd. I mean, I know there's a little bit of a gap in between there between the end of the regular season and bowl season. So yeah, he's a junior. It looks like he's just a junior. He's just a junior, so he's going to graduate in 2.5 years. Wow. So last year was his sophomore season. I thought he was at least a redshirt junior. So he was a true freshman in 2016, sophomore in 2017. So yeah, he's going to graduate in 2.5 years. Wow. Well, good for him. But yeah, no, so that's what I'm saying. Actually, that's good because that means this is his junior season, sits out his junior season. It doesn't matter if he's a redshirt or not, graduates and then can transfer next year if Tua gets a starting job this year and runs away with it, because Tua's not going anywhere. Tua, talking about transferring, we talked about it I think earlier in the year when we were going through this the initial question marking. Even though I've had it pretty set in my mind that once you watch that game, go watch the film from January 3rd in Atlanta and see how nice Tua looks back there. I mean, the kid looks real good. He's got a nice little arm action. He's bigger. He can move around in the pocket. He's got better touch on his passes. Can drive the ball down the field better. It's just the ball comes out of his hand easier. It's just all kind of pointing that way, but it is what it is. So yeah, he got benched at halftime for Tua as Tua comes in and wins that game for them. As I mean, this is a guy he was actually 24/7 Sports had him as a 5-star recruit. Rivals had a 4. ESPN had him as a 4-star recruit. That's Tua Tagovailoa, that is, and then comes into Alabama behind Jalen Hurts. But yeah, I mean, this is interesting because Jalen, you don't usually do that. I guess Alabama couldn't. Nick Saban didn't want to miss up on something, but you usually you take a quarterback, then you wait a year, then you take another quarterback. So you have a junior quarterback and a freshman quarterback versus a sophomore and a freshman. And this is what we're getting into here, where this is the issues where one of them is not going to play. That's the thing. Jalen's not going to play because I don't think if you give Tua the job, it'd be hard pressed to get that job away from him. Just be interesting. It'd be very interesting to see how if that was to happen, how bad he'd have to be. But I mean, this is of course going into Nick Saban's comments on everybody asking if the team. I think, Nick, you made us think. Okay, actually, first I'm going to read the quote. But of course, this is after the media asked whether he winning the team term, the whole thing with that meant players have input on the starter. I mean, that would of course he got all pissed about people being worried about depth charts. Oh, well, of course we're about depth charts. It's our livelihood. So quickly before the segment is over, let me read this quote. So Nick Saban says, "Why do you think that way?" ? If there's people on our team that can contribute, why would we not utilize their abilities to be able to contribute on our team in some form or fashion? Just like when we have a guy that's a great designated pass rusher, we put him in on third down and he rushes the passer. He's not a starter, but I guess at quarterback, that just doesn't matter in you all's mind. Yeah, Nick, because a quarterback, do you have a third down quarterback? Is that how you want to run your team this year? That doesn't make any sense. Nick, you're not making any sense. And why do you think the media, they're just sitting here absorbing? That's all. That's literally our job. Absorb and react. Absorb and react. Maybe think about it a little bit. No knee-jerk reactions, but maybe internalize it a little bit, mull it over, and then react. So yes, we're worried about depth charts because that's literally our jobs. Literally, our job is to worry about the depth chart, and your job is to create a depth chart for us to worry about. Or you know what? Creating this conversation, this controversy. I called it a controversy way back in March or April when I first started with this show. I was calling it a controversy. It was a competition back then. It's a controversy now. We'll take a quick break. And we'll come back and do some more talk also on the Big 12 and how the Big 12 could be hurting this year because there's not really a team that could run away with that conference and be competitive because it's not just winning the Big 12. It's winning and having the resume to get into the CFP. All right, we'll come back after the break. Stay tuned.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
All right, welcome back to GSMC Football Podcast, the college football edition on a Friday today here as we just finished talking a little Jalen Hurts and the quarterback situation over at Alabama. Of course, we could talk about that more if we want to. Of course, we'll get to the Big 12 stuff in just a second. I mean, the Big 12 could be in trouble as, of course, the rankings come out, and of course then ESPN wants to rank the Power 5 conferences, and I rank the Power 5 conferences. I mean, you can also rank them by division. I mean, if you want to go, does the Big 12 not have divisions? I don't think the Big 12 has divisions. Yeah, so I mean, you could throw the Big 12 just kind of in there, but yeah, I mean, to finish up my Alabama stuff, if you wait longer, you're going to give us more opportunity to talk. You're going to give your players more opportunity to talk. You're going to give the media more time to shove microphones in players' faces. If you say they're going to win the team, you're going to start implying, maybe inadvertently, that the rest of your team has input on who is going to start this year. Players, not just coaches, but players. Of course, media members are going to get all worried about that. Of course, when you come and say, "Oh, why are you so worried about the depth chart?" Because that's our job. Our job. Everybody wants to know who's going to play. We don't care about who's number 3 in the depth chart, but we care who's number 1 on the depth chart, and you haven't told us yet. We've waited all summer long. Tua couldn't do anything during the spring ball because of his finger, and Jalen was all right, but he wasn't great because the offensive line wasn't ready to go, and the defense was just running after him like banshees. I mean, it was ridiculous. But, I mean, that's the way it is on spring ball, unfortunately. It's hard to get a gauge. But if Jalen hasn't been told anything, I mean, I don't know what they're talking to Tua about. You think that you want your quarterback to have some confidence, number one, in himself. Number two, yes, I know. Okay. Yes, confidence in himself. Okay, we'll start with that. I understand people are, competition is good. It breeds hardworking attitudes, and it weeds out the people who really want to try and the people who just are walking through it. Yeah, it does. But you already that doesn't matter, because Tua has shown that he obviously wants to be there. He took an opportunity and ran with it back in the beginning of the year. Jalen has been the starter there for a while. Has won a bunch of games, won a conference championship. He's done a lot of different things. So, I mean, they won the conference championship the year before. So that's just the way it is at not this past year, but the way it is at Alabama. I mean, their defense. The thing is, quarterback isn't really the biggest part of that team. I don't think, right? At least right now, it hasn't been for a long time in that program. It's been the defense, and it's been having a good running back. And you got Harris over there as a good running back. I mean, Bo Scarborough's gone. Obviously, he actually played yesterday for the Cowboys. Looked pretty good, actually, in the first preseason game for Dallas against the Niners in Santa Clara, which, I mean, of course, I was watching as a Niner fan. And then, of course, the Niners come back and get the win late with all the scrubs. Well, not scrubs, actually. The guy who caught the game-winning touchdown for the Niners was our last pick of the draft, and he's actually, I think he's going to get on the field this year for us. Richie James, he's going to be pretty good. But going back to the college stuff, Alabama, just tell us. Make a dang decision. Get behind somebody. Show some confidence. And the fact that Tua's come out and say this means that they really aren't talking to anybody. I speculated a little bit earlier that maybe they've decided in-house. They don't want the media to get a hold of it yet because, like I said, I mean, they could be trying to just not tell Bobby Petrino who's going to be starting against him come September 1st. But that's like I said, it's the only person who's going to really be the only person you're really going to get after September 1st. You make a decision, it's kind of over. So I mean, it doesn't really matter. Who's going to start next week for us? I mean, honestly, they could do that, but then again, these are college kids. They got class to worry about. They got practice. They got social lives to worry about. Obviously, they got playbooks to worry about. Man, why don't you instill some confidence in one of them and stop making it sound like I don't know. Let's let them win the team. Well, they're both leaders. They've been leaders their whole lives. They've been quarterbacks their whole lives. They've come Tua Tagovailoa, went to the same high school as Marcus Mariota. He knows he's been bred to be a leader, to be this player. So, I mean, just Nick, make a dang decision. That's all I'm going to say is make a dang decision. And I think this decision is not that difficult to make. It's not. Tua is the better option. He controls the offense better. He makes it more difficult to key on one player for the defense. You put Jalen Hurts back there, the defense has all his film on him. They have all of his tendencies. They know he has happy feet. He has tendency to drop his eyes. He runs when he could keep his eyes up and maybe extend the play and get the ball down the field through the air. He'll just take off. Can't really drive the ball down the field. Doesn't have the greatest touch. Oh, Tua has all that? Okay. Less film. Don't really know. You could try and watch the half of the national championship game you have to get some film on Tua and some garbage time during last year. So there you go. He's shown the touch. He's shown the ability to drive the ball on the field. He's shown the ability to work under pressure. He has the ability to move around in the pocket and be mobile and extend plays. Because the thing is, there's mobile quarterbacks and there's quarterbacks who can move, and there's running quarterbacks. So there's like Ben Roethlisberger can move. He is a guy who can shed defenders off of him. He can extend plays out longer, all that kind of stuff. Dak Prescott is a mobile quarterback where he will do the same thing Ben Roethlisberger does, but then he'll take off. Sometimes, if he sees the middle of the field open up, you saw it yesterday against the Niners, he just takes off right in the middle of the field, gets a first down, converts a third down conversion, long third down conversion, and gets 12 yards on a run play. So then there's a running quarterback like Jalen Hurts, where he will keep his eyes up, and then as soon as that first read is done, I'm going. And believe me, he's a great runner. He's got some great skills. He's elusive. all kind of stuff. I think that he'd make a great tight end or a running back or whatever you want to do, or some sort of fullback if you want to do that. Throw it to him out of the backfield. He'd make a great player like that. So there you go. All right, getting into this stuff regarding the Big 12. I mean, we'll go more into. We have plenty of time left on the show today, as I wanted to look at these Power 5. They ranked the Power 5 divisions. And actually, that's kind of cool because there are some divisions, even in the same conference, that have some disparity. Like the Pac-12 North and the Pac-12 South, yeah, that's quite different. I think the Pac-12 South finds itself at the bottom of this list. But there's no divisions in the Big 12, so they're kind of all lumped together as just one ranking. So we'll start at number 1. Let's see how I agree with. So ESPN has the SEC West as the number 1 conference. I mean, it's the number 1 division in the country. That's probably right. I mean, it's got Alabama, it's got Auburn, it's got LSU, Texas A&M should be, well, with Jimbo Fisher, we'll see how that works. LSU, honestly, with if Ed Orgeron goes with Joe Burrow, that team can make some noise this year. They have a good defense. They recruit really well. They usually have a good little running back there. If they can get Joe Burrow, that's the one problem for them, for LSU, for over the last decade, seemingly. They haven't really been able to get the quarterback figured out. They had Zach Mettenberger. You got, obviously, remember way back when they had Jamarcus Russell, and then he becomes the number 1 pick, and then that all goes to hell. So, I mean, it is what it is. But, I mean, LSU, Joe Burrow, Ed Orgeron, maybe not the biggest X's and O's guy, but you can get some talent on the field with a guy like Joe Burrow who can run an offense and was a highly touted recruit, goes to Ohio State, doesn't get on the field, and goes over to the LSU. That school has been known. There's some good NFL players from that school. They get players. They get players who are skilled. They just need a leader. They need a guy to get in the ball, and that's Joe Burrow. If he can make that work, the SEC West will be even more potent. I mean, I even would say Mississippi State is in that division as well. With Fitzgerald being a force, as he can be a guy you have to watch out for, and of course Jarrett Stidham coming back for this year after that minor shoulder surgery to get that done. I mean, I want to look at. I always get kind of confused on who is in the SEC in the divisions and how it works with the divisions. I mean, because I know Alabama's in the West. So here we go. East Division is Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, Missouri, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Vanderbilt. Okay, yeah, that's definitely the weaker one of the divisions, weaker side. Then obviously West Division is Alabama, Arkansas, Auburn, LSU, Mississippi State, and Texas A&M. Okay, so here's the West Division. Teams that have an up arrow, trending upwards for them right now. Obviously, Alabama's 1, Auburn's 1. I'd say LSU is 1 because of Joe Burrow. Mississippi State is 1 for sure, and then maybe arrow pointing sideways for Ole Miss because Matt Luke and obviously the whole Hugh Freeze situation. But I actually like what Matt Luke's did at the end of the year last year, and what he does this year should be interesting to watch as well. And then of course Mississippi State. They should be pointing upwards. They got Joe Moorhead comes in there to be the head coach. They got Fitzgerald in there as a quarterback to be pretty exciting for that program over there in Starkville. And then Texas A&M, I say no up arrow for them because I'm not really the biggest Jimbo Fisher fan, and they don't have any idea what they're doing at quarterback whatsoever. So, I mean, they got some cool uniforms there. They got Adidas all making them look good, but yeah. I'm not really excited for that. And then, of course, in the East, it's basically can Florida and South Carolina battle with Georgia to win that division. That's the only. I think those are the only 2 schools that really can. Maybe Missouri with Locke over there to try and they have a quarterback that can maybe make some noise in Columbia. But I mean, South Carolina and Florida are pretty much the only schools that I think have the team right now to compete with Georgia, and maybe not even that, because Georgia's really, really good, and they're going to have 2 quarterbacks this year that are going to be pretty interesting to watch. Especially, I mean, we'll see what they do with Justin Fields coming this season. All right, we'll come back after the break and finish up this stuff regarding the rankings. I know I just got through 1, and I was, of course, looking at the 2 divisions in the SEC, and then giving you my thoughts on those teams individually. We'll make it to the SEC East as they are significantly down the list a little bit, especially obviously quickly before the break goes, think about this during the break really quick. SEC West, with those teams I just listed off, versus the Big Ten East. The Big Ten East is nasty. Obviously, the SEC West has Alabama, LSU. We talked about it. Both the Mississippi teams should be good. Obviously, new coaches at Texas A&M and Mississippi State. But Big Ten East, Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan State. Yes, they get dragged down a little bit by Maryland, of course, and Purdue. Actually, I think Purdue's in the other division. I'm trying to think. Now, of course, I have to go look that up because I can't remember what that division is. But that's yeah. So I mean, what was it? There's 14 schools. There's 7 and 7. So it's 4 of the big schools right there. I think it's Maryland. Maryland's 5. I'm trying to think. Rutgers is 6, and I can't think of the 7th school. It doesn't matter. They're not very good. All right, time for a break. We're going over, so we got to take a break, and we'll come back after it. And tell me, SEC West or Big Ten East? I told the schools. I think Big Ten East is getting snubbed a little bit here, but you never know. All right. Well, ESPN does apparently. We'll come back after the break. Stay tuned.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA Podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, welcome back to GSMC Football Podcast on a Friday today here, as we've been talking a lot about Jalen Hurts and the situation over at Alabama, and I'm just like, want to shake Nick Saban. Make a decision. Just make a decision. Instill some confidence. Get behind somebody. They're kids. They're literally children. Well, they're not children. They're not literally children. They're very close. They're young adults. Very young adults. Tua is younger than me. Jalen might be my age exactly. Or not. I don't know. Not disclosing my age. I'm like 25. No, I'm kidding. I don't know. I don't know I know how old I am. Actually, don't think I didn't say that. But Jalen, what do you want, buddy? Obviously, they both want to play. But if you're Jalen Hurts and you got benched, you hope you got better. Did you get better this offseason? Did you do anything to get better than Tua? Because Tua's obviously better. If you're Jalen Hurts, you played in football for a long time. No, they're both younger than me. Of course they are. Whatever. No, but if you're playing football for a long time, you know when somebody's better than you, right? I mean, I know that there's confidence and there's this whole aura of blocking people out and I'm the best no matter what or something like that. You just got to keep telling yourself that because you're going to get down on yourself and then you're going to lose confidence and you're going to start playing worse, which is true. I get it. It's all in your head. It's between the ears, like 70% between the ears, 30%. Obviously, they're all freak athletes anyways. That's why you get drafted. That's why you get picked out of high school. That's why you can get recruited because colleges see your raw talent, your physical talent, what you're able to do physically. Then they try and coach you up mentally. That's how you get the extra star, probably. Well, I don't know. Actually, I don't know how the recruiting process, their whole rating process. But for me, if I was a scout, obviously you see players as players. You're watching them from the stands on the field. They're playing football. They're freak athletes. They're getting all this great hubbub because of their athletic ability. What's going on between the brain, between the ears? That's how you get the men of this game. That's how you get a really good recruit because he's got between the ears and in the body. There's guys who can run as fast as the wind, who can block, who can tear your head off with a tackle, catch everything that's thrown at them, and they have no idea what's going on. They don't have it between the ears. There's room for that. I'm not saying that there's room for that in programs. There's room for that in the NFL. There's players all over the place. Go watch Hard Knocks. Go watch Hard Knocks on Thursday, on Tuesday. If you don't have HBO, get HBO because it's a good show, and it's the Cleveland Browns this year, and you'll find out who's got it between the ears and who's just basically running on their God-given gifts. Obviously, if you have it between the ears, that's also a God-given gift, but if you're just going off your physicality, then so be it. But Tua, he's a guy who you could tell physicality between the ears. Quarterback kind of required. Jalen Hurts, I'm not commenting on his mental acuity or anything, but if you're Jalen Hurts and you've seen this happen, you've been in football your whole life, don't you know that he's better than you? He's better than you. It's not your prerogative to get out of the way whatsoever. It's your prerogative to get better. It's your prerogative to use that injury that he had in spring to grow when he can't. It's a competition. I get it. He's on your team. He's your teammate. Maybe he's your buddy. I don't know how good of friends they are. I would expect they're not that good of friends, honestly. But they're in the quarterback rooms together. They're with the quarterback coach. They're talking. They're in the facility. They're working out. They're throwing right next to each other at practice. They have to have some sort of camaraderie. I mean, I don't know. Camaraderie might be the wrong word. But some sort of relationship. There you go. In general, any kind of relationship in general. And I don't know. I got benched for you mentality versus you got benched for me mentality. That speaks wildly for me, which is why in January, when that happened and Tua won the game, they were dead in the water. Dead in the water. And I was wrong, honestly. I thought after I saw Alabama, once Alabama kicked the living everything out of Clemson, I'm like, this game, Dad put $100 on Alabama, -3, it's over. No problems. They're going to wipe the floor with them. Georgia had to go to overtime against a Big 12 team. No offense. I mean, yes, it was Oklahoma. They actually had a decent defense or their offense, but they did. Baker Mayfield, yes, everything. Take that into account, obviously, but still, they just beat the number one team in the nation. Alabama did. A good Clemson team with a good defense and a good offense and a good coach. Georgia just went tooth and nail, hard-nosed football, overtime football, extra blows, body blows, everything against a good it was a good Oklahoma team, but still, Big 12. Sorry, Big 12, just second class to me, honestly. No offense. It is. To me, and we're going to get there eventually. But the fact of the case is that, did you get better than him? Did you? Because I haven't seen anything. You were running like a banshee. Obviously, that's not really your fault. In fact, you're running around like a banshee during spring practice because your offensive line couldn't block anybody, and your defensive line is really, really good. So that goes without saying. You get a free pass on that. But if you are not in the coach's room, look at James Blackman. James Blackman at Florida State probably isn't going to get that job. He probably isn't because DeAndre Francois is better than him. And DeAndre Francois, even though he's had all the issues and everything, but James Blackman. But if there's any chance for him to get the job, it's now because he's been in the room. He's been bugging Willie Taggart. He's been up in his business. He's been on the practice facility early in the morning, in the office, watching film, in the room, watching film. Ready to go. He might not get the job. Francois is more experienced. He's got more talent. He's got more tools. He's got more ability, touch of the ball, throw the ball, everything. Quarterbacking has a lot of variables. And why a decision hasn't been made yet in Alabama, at Tuscaloosa, I have literally no idea. Literally no idea. 20 days, Nick. 20 days. 20 days. Put your chips behind somebody. Instill confidence in a young player. I thought maybe he's talked to them behind closed doors. I swear, I'm like, please, he's talked to them behind closed doors. We're just doing this media hubbub, whatever, filling some airwave time. Nope, I guess not. Jalen Hurts just came out and said that he hasn't talked to anybody. Nobody's come to talk to him. Nobody's done anything. Nick Saban probably knows he's right about that, which is why Nick Saban came out and said that his comments aren't gonna affect anything, because he's like, honestly, Jalen's right. I bet you Nick Saban's not an idiot. He's not a stupid guy. He's a smart guy. He's an NFL. NFL. He's a national championship winning coach, probably one of the best coaches in this. Well, not probably, but one of the best coaches in the history of college football. He knows what's going on. He can act a little bit too, actually. I just watched The Blind Side again on HBO. He's in that a lot, or he has a couple different scenes. But The Blind Side. Enunciate, Tom. Enunciate. No, but instill some confidence in somebody, please. Somebody. Pick Tua. Pick Jalen. Pick somebody. Pick somebody. Pick the other kid. There's actually another kid there. Blake Barnett, I think that's what his name is, or something like that. I can't remember what's the other quarterback that's going on at Alabama. He may have transferred, actually. I can't keep it. There's so many. There's so many lists, or just all this kind of stuff going on right now. Let's see. Hold on. Where's my not starting quarterbacks? I just want the. Let's look at the roster. But yeah, no. There's another guy who is a really highly touted recruit that they're getting again. They have another guy as well. So I mean, watch it be the right name that I said. But he could be another guy. Oh, Braxton Barker. He's a freshman. That's who I think. I was thinking Blake. I think it's double B's. Braxton Barker is one of them, and then you have Mac Jones is a redshirt freshman. There's one other guy in here that they got. They have a lot of quarterbacks on their team. Holy moly! Going through all these stuff. Yeah, I think that was the guy I was thinking of. Double B's there. But yeah, so make a decision, Nick. Make a decision. All right. Let's go back to that stuff I was doing before my Nick Saban tangent, trying to tell Nick what to do because he needs to make a decision. Honestly, at this point, I don't really care who he picks. Just make a pick because it's between the ears. These kids are, Jalen Hurts is 20 years old. Tua Tagovailoa is 19 years old. Give him some confidence. Obviously, I think Tua has experience from January coming in cold, but the coldest comments were from Tua saying that he was going to transfer if he didn't get on the field. That's some ballsy stuff to say because if you weren't the starter. If the game was going the right way, you would never have gone on the field. It took extraordinary circumstances for him to make that decision and put you on the field, and then you would have left. Whatever. I mean, there's honestly, why not leave? Because there's plenty of programs. I was talking about earlier. If Jalen Hurts is going to transfer, Michigan is waiting for you. Honestly, Michigan's waiting for him next year because he's going to. If he doesn't play this year, he's going to be the backup or whatever bench warmer, whatever kind of word you want to say. Jalen Hurts can sit out this year, graduate in December, and use a graduate transfer and go be the next Michigan quarterback because Jay Patterson's only staying for the year probably. He's going to get drafted. Jalen Hurts can go right there and play for Michigan in the next year. That's my thought, but I mean, I don't know. That's way down the line. We're more worried about in the next 20 days, short term, and I guess Nick Saban isn't. I mean, but the thing is, I guess we got to be hearing about it in a next few days, aren't we? Weeks. I mean, give the kid 2 weeks to be the starter and know that he's the starter, whoever it is, before that game against Louisville. I mean, Louisville isn't. It's not the Iron Bowl. I understand that. It's not against Florida. It's not a Georgia game. It's not even a game against Oklahoma or another Power 5 or Clemson or a Big Ten school or even a Pac-12 school. It's not. It's against Louisville. But Louisville, they have a NFL head coach who knows what he's doing. And like I said, speculatory stuff regarding maybe it's exactly what Nick Saban's trying to do is not tip his hand to Bobby Petrino. Could be. Who knows? All right. Before this end of the break, this segment just flew by on me again. But we're gonna go. I want to look at these rankings quickly, and then we're also going to do some Week 1 picks again. I think I did a couple different games. I don't know if I picked winners or not. I can't remember. That was a while ago. But we're going to look at these big neutral field games, and I'll pick some winners at the very end of the show for you guys. So everybody, stay tuned. And we will be right back with some more talk on the college football and looking at these conference division rankings. It's actually pretty interesting reading these little snippets they have underneath the rankings that you can go look on ESPN the ESPN app and find them yourself, and I'll give you my comments on them after these messages. So everybody stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC to the extreme cage fighting, we got the fights covered.
Listen.
It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts, past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
All right, welcome back to GSMC Football Podcast, the college football edition on a Friday today here. My name is Tom Dougherty, by the way. If you don't know, I've been your host for the last 45 minutes. If you have not, if this is the first time you've listened to this show, please go look at our other shows. We have, actually, it's a two-headed monster on this football podcast here on the GSMC Podcast Network, which we are always sponsored by. But my buddy Jesse Tapia, hosts the other football show. So if you see anything like college football related on the title line, there's no differentiation in the, like, it says GSMC Football Podcast episode whatever. Actually, this is episode 400, so little milestone for us here, little anniversary, episode 400. But this is the Jalen Hurts Big 12 Week 1 show. So this obviously is a college football show. If you see something where it says NFL or any NFL team or a Hall of Fame game or anything like that, any NFL player, that's Jesse's show, and he does a really, really good job with that. So go listen to Jesse as well if you are a college football and an NFL football fan, as they are all archived in the same little channel. And then also I host the fantasy football show on this network as well. So if you type in GSMC Football, you'll probably see fantasy football right next to it because it pops up anyways. If you don't, type in fantasy football and you'll find my fantasy football show, which of course is NFL talk and look more obviously angled towards getting your team where you want to go and drafting the right players, because we're going to be seeing NFL fantasy drafts coming up. Hopefully not anytime soon, because don't draft during the preseason, please, because you're just begging to get screwed over. Draft on Labor Day, like everybody else, like I've been preaching about it on my other show. So draft on Labor Day, please, because that's the best day to do it. It's right before the season starts, after the preseason's over. All right, back to college football. My plug is over. Big Ten East comes in at number 2. I think these can go back and forth. I actually like the Big Ten East better, because even though, yes, there's Auburn and Alabama, that's it, really. Yes, Mississippi State. I know we talked about LSU. The two proven schools are Alabama and Auburn in this conference. The 4 proven schools in the other conference that all beat up on each other are Michigan, Michigan State, Penn State, and Ohio State. Yes, I know they get watered down a lot by Rutgers and Maryland and the other school that I can't think of right now in that division. I'll think of it in a second. But those 4 big schools are very nice. And then you have, of course, the other peripheral schools, the schools that aren't Alabama and Auburn, Mississippi State, LSU, Texas A&M, they're a little better than Maryland and Rutgers. I'm just it just lets you obviously gonna know that. This is bugging me. What's the 7th school in the Big Ten East? Please tell me that. It is Indiana. What? Okay, so Purdue is in the west and Indiana's in the east. Okay, whatever. If you look at that, if you know where Fort Wayne, Indiana is, it's actually more east than Bloomington. So that just goes to show you. It's very close. You could draw probably a straight line, but it does angle a little bit. Bloomington's more in the southwestern area side of Indiana, versus Fort Wayne is up in the north side of it. So you go like that. Or I think northeast side of it as well. But that's just me being a geography nerd. All right. Next is ACC Atlantic. That's obviously it's your Clemson and your NC State. Did Louisville get moved into the ACC? Am I just messing up right now and saying Louisville's not in a Power 5 school? Because they weren't in a Power 5 school, Power 5 conference for the longest time, but they might be now. Because they were in Conference USA or the American Conference actually for a while, and then they may have moved. They may have moved over to the ACC because I'm seeing Louisville here as an option. Yeah, so yeah, they're in the ACC Atlantic now. Okay, cool. Well, there you go. It's not like Alabama's playing Clemson though. They're still playing Louisville. They still have Bobby Petrino. Not a pushover, but there's no Lamar Jackson. We'll see. This actually is a really interesting game because it's going to give you who is the next man up at Louisville, pretty much, and we'll find that out on September 1st. So looking at this Atlantic, obviously, if Clemson, NC State, Louisville are your big ones. Florida State's in there as well with Boston College, who actually is usually can be a little bit of a nasty team. Wake Forest and Syracuse rounding out that conference. So, yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with number 3. Pac-12 North's pretty good too. I think you can flip-flop either of these ones as well. But if Florida State gets up to the prowess that they've been at in their history with Clemson and Louisville, those are your 3 top teams. And NC State, honestly, they're pretty darn good too, as they usually get some good players in there as well. I mean, they had some really nice season last year, especially with Bradley Chubb and BJ Hill over there. Obviously, both those guys are gone, but hopefully they tutelage the younger players in that program to be just as effective in the ACC Atlantic. Maybe not quite as effective. Bradley Chubb's really good, but I mean, still. Pac-12 North comes in at number 4. We still haven't gotten to the Big 10 yet, Big 12 yet. They're by themselves. There's no divisions in the Big 12. But Pac-12 North, obviously Stanford and Washington in your class of your division. Washington State had a really nice year last year. Cal has a nice little quarterback. They're trying to figure out ways to get more wins there. Then you have Oregon with Justin Herbert this year. They might be a surprise. I would not be surprised. I would be a little disappointed because I want my Cardinal to play well. But the Oregon Ducks, watch out. I know they got a new head coach, but Justin Herbert, he looks really special. I mean, really special. In the short stints he had last year, look at the game stats, in-game stats, really special. Look at his size, really special. Look at the ability to run, really special. Look at the school he's at, really special. I mean, he just has Carson Wentz written all over him, and he goes to a big school. Carson Wentz did not. So he's going to get all the eyeballs, and he's going to have all the help, and he's going to have all the tools and all the facilities and all the assistants and all the medical and all the everything and all the Nike gear to go along with it because he's at Oregon, of course. So I'm really excited to watch him this year. Super, super excited. Obviously, really excited to see what Bryce Love can do. More expectations with Bryce Love. Like, I need you to play well. Like, I need you and KJ Costello to go off this year. I'm excited to see if Justin Herbert does that. There you go. That's the difference. Number 5 is the Big 10. Is the Big 12. Sorry. Big 12 is number 5 as they sneak ahead of the big SEC East, even though I think the SEC East still has better programs. The Big 12 has Oklahoma State, TCU, Baylor, I guess. Texas is on a lost journey as if they were in Westworld trying to follow that little maze. I have no idea what they're doing at Texas. Tom Herman just likes to yell at people, seems like. We'll see if he gets that figured out. Kansas is a basketball school, so is K-State pretty much at this point, even though Bill Snyder is a great story and he's actually has had success at that school lately too, so got to give him credit. And then that's it. That's really it. Iowa State, really, they surprise. The thing with Iowa State, they're good for one upset a year. There you go. Last year it was Oklahoma. There you go. So yeah. All right. Going into more stuff with the Big 12, it's just not really that exciting for me at all. I mean, the most exciting for me, because I know it should be Kyler Murray, but I'm really more scared for Kyler Murray because I'm out here in California and I'm right next to the A's, and the A's, I've been around the A's for a long time, been not really fan-ish because I'm a Giants fan, but Nationally, baseball is more appealing to me than having a DH. But that's probably going to go by the wayside anyways pretty soon here. But it's not the baseball show yet. That's next. If you want to listen to the baseball show, I'm recording it after this one. So you can do that around probably 11 o'clock this morning and get the baseball show. Well, actually, they'll probably be both uploaded by the time you're listening to this one at this point. Just not really that enamored. The thing in the Big 12 that I'm most excited for is Will Grier and Daniel Holgerson at West Virginia. And that's a problem for the Big 12 because they should be having teams be exciting and have teams like Oklahoma be ready to go to win a conference and get into the college football playoff. So I'm like saying, if there was a conference to be snubbed this year, Big 12 for sure. Number 7 is the ACC ACC. 6 is the SEC East with Georgia and South Carolina and Florida. Of course, I think that you could put those that ahead of the Big 12 because the Big 12 for me is basically West Virginia and Oklahoma this year. Maybe TCU, maybe Oklahoma State. They get a new quarterback in there for Mason Rudolph. You figure it out. But I just think Georgia, they got a quarterback. Florida have a new head coach. Figure it out there with their quarterback situation. And South Carolina, honestly, I like Will Muschamp. I mean, I think is Will Muschamp South Carolina, and he's done good in a short time. And more years and more recruits is going to breed more success, I think, at that school. So looking for them to be better than a Big 12 school. Number 7 is the ACC Coastal. So that's Miami, basically, and Virginia Tech. Are your two top schools in that conference or that division? Sorry, Miami should be able to get back to where they were last year. Finishing 10-2 is not bad, but then you lose your bowl game. Now it's 10-3. Basically, you lost 3 games in a row after being undefeated. So Mike Richt looks to right the ship there a little bit. Not that much change. You just got to finish strong. Basically, finish strong. Number 8 is the Big Ten West. Obviously, it's basically whoever has the easiest schedule between Wisconsin and Iowa. Iowa does have the easier schedule this year, but if they do play head-to-head against Wisconsin, Wisconsin has better players. So I'll probably would like Wisconsin this year a little more, even though I think Iowa, with the easier schedule, could have a chance to be better and win that division. And then 9 is the Pac-12 South as they round out the bottom of this ranking. And I agree with this completely. Maybe you could flip-flop the Big Ten East or Big Ten West and the Pac-12 South because they're both kind of weak. With basically the thing is the Big Ten West has Wisconsin. Wisconsin's pretty good. So you can take that into account versus the Big 12. Versus the Pac-12 South doesn't really have anybody. That's looking like they're going to be trying to get back to where they were last year because of all the turnover. You had both quarterbacks leaving the LA schools. You do have Khalil Tate at Arizona, but still, it's Arizona. New head coach, and it's going to take time for Coach Semlin to get that all figured out over there in Tucson as well. So, and then Arizona State, And Utah, honestly, watch out for Utah. Utah this year is going to be good. I think Utah is going to battle for that conference or for that division championship, honestly, and they might get a game at Levi Stadium next year or in December against the team from the North in the Pac-12 championship game. So watch out for Utah. I like Utah. All right, we'll get to my game. Let's get to some game picks as we have. Obviously, I'm going to do a little 4-pack. Am I do a 4-pack or a 5-pack? I think a 4-pack. So we'll start with the Alabama Louisville game. We'll take Alabama in that one as I think that Nick Saban does pick Jalen Hurts. Nick Saban does pick Tua Tagovailoa, and they go into Orlando and show off their guns to Louisville and take care of them. The other one is the other opening game is the Auburn-Washington game. I think I talked about that a lot. That's a tough one for me because I like both those schools. I like both those coaches. I like both those quarterbacks. I got to go with my boy Jake Browning from Washington. He the Folsom Bulldog. We talked about it a lot on the show. Went to my high school, so got to go with Jake and the Huskies from Wisconsin. Even though it might not be the biggest help for my Stanford Cardinal, but got to go with the Huskies there to win that game in Dallas. And then I think is it LSU versus Miami is that other one that's going to be pretty interesting as this is the third game. The fourth game obviously is going to be the other big one. that we talked about. Yeah, LSU, Miami. It's going to be a neutral field, I believe, for this one as well. Yeah, it's going to be in Dallas as well, AT&T Stadium. So the next day after that's the part of the kickoff. They have 2 games there in Dallas. Good, Jerry West got to get. I mean, not Jerry West. Jerry Jones. You got to give the guy credit. He knows how to make some money with that stadium, hosting virtually everything there. Okay, so continuing on, doing the picks here. I'll take LSU. I'll take LSU in this one. Really? No, wait. LSU. Joe. I'll take LSU if they start Joe Burrow. If they don't, I'll take Miami. There you go. If they start Joe Burrow. But Miami, honestly, Miami should be the better team. Honestly, they coming off of a season that disappointed at the end. They were strong at the beginning, weak at the end, and they want to try and get that back up. So I wouldn't be surprised if Miami wins this one either. But I like Joe Burrow at LSU. I want to see what he can do there. And then the final one, Michigan, Notre Dame. We'll take Michigan with Shea Patterson. I need Michigan to win because I want Michigan to be in the conversation at the end of the year for the college football playoff. I think Jim Harbaugh is due, and I think they can get past this Notre Dame team. I think they do. Brandon Wimbush, hopefully he figured out his mechanical flaw and can get back on the prowess. It's going to be a good game though. That's going to be a good game. Irish against the Wolverines, and that's going to be. I think the same. That's gonna be Saturday as well. So I can't wait. We're 20 days away from some serious games, and then the week after that we have NFL. So it's upon us. It's coming down. We're coming down the chute. We have 20 days to go, and we'll be here to talk about it. So everybody have a good weekend. We'll be back on Monday for another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast, the college football edition. Like I said, if you like NFL stuff as well, be sure to tune over to the other show that we posted today. I'm sure. It will be mine will be up early. Mine will be up earlier. But if you're listening to this around probably 4:00 on a Friday today, Jesse's show should be available as well. So, all right, everybody, have a good weekend. Talk to you later. Bye.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.